She's been dying to talk, and Jeremy stole the exclusive of Lucy had a shitty time. She's done all that. Look, what are you grinning about back there? You're stealing from the company.
Scoops Taché.
We wanted to get to the Saban stuff. I don't want to go to Lucy's video right now. She has sold it in a way that makes me not want to go to it.
I kind of want to see it.
Okay.
It's bad.
It's bad? All right, we'll get back to it.
Can we talk about the greatest college football head coach ever retiring?
Kirk Ferentz did not retire. Can we talk about the sad graphic behind Dan that made me giggle during the beginning of the segment? I mean, Pete Carroll has to feel terrible today. But yes, Mike,
It's a visual representation of that Venn diagram that I was talking about, where there's someone squarely in the middle of a college football and Super Bowl championship. Pete Carroll did it, but
he's 30 feet back, but in the middle.
Yeah, I think I found myself doing the college football thing, which was, okay, wow, that's huge, shocking news. Let me already go to what this means and how people react to it, because that's a domino that's going to fall. And you have all these kids being able to enter the portal, and whoever comes from another school is going to go to that school, and then those kids jump in the portal, and all these jobs are going to jump. And I'm not going to play the carousel music, but this is quite possibly the biggest college football domino to ever fall. This guy ran this sport.
More than Bear Bryant.
And I know that in the NIL era, which is still very short-lived, he didn't actually win a title. And you could actually say, Nick Saban, you're probably getting out at the right time, not just because of your age, but because of the way that you ran college football. The very early days of NIL have told us and have shown us that there's going to be a bit more parity, a bit more of the talent going to different places. So this is a great time for him to get away from the sport. What's shocking is that while we said this might be happening, he was interviewing coaches 2 days ago. So he made up his mind to do this right now, like David Sampson would say.
Right now.
And it left Alabama without a real plan, and it'll be curious to see what they do. But I do want to talk about somebody that dominated the sport in ways that no one ever has, and we can say definitively that is the greatest college football head coach of all time.
Yeah, there's not even a GOAT debate, I think, with Nick Saban, which is why it's like there's so many things you can talk about. You can talk about him winning all the championships and having this like endless supply of guys, more first-round draft picks than losses in his career, which is just insane. But I think you could probably also make an argument that the reason college football is as good of a product as it is now and is worth so much money and why the SEC is so powerful is because Nick Saban upped the game for everyone else. Yep. Everyone was always trying to get to where he was in coaching, and it made the product better because he was so good.
It's interesting to view it from the prism of Miami because he failed here and hard stop. And he never wanted to be here. Wayne Huizenga was a very wealthy man who simply convinced him that he wanted to be a pro when Nick Saban didn't want to be a pro. And he told Nick Saban, if you ever want to leave, you can just up and leave. If you think you're right that you're not going to like this, you can leave. And so Nick Saban left. And everyone in Miami fell on his head, including me in a way that I regret now because I was too poisonous, and it was easy. It got a lot of applause, but Wayne Huizenga wasn't mad. He said, no, of course, that's the deal we made. I told him he could go back. He was a mediocre professional coach and the best college football coach we've ever seen.
Of all time, won a championship at LSU, went to the pros, had difficulty in the pros, and after saying, quote, I'm not going to be the next Alabama head coach, so you can quit asking, and he then became the Alabama head football coach. Yeah, it was a little toxic. Our show had years worth of Saban songs, and Saban is a liar.
Do you have any of those? You should get some of those.
I need to make sure that they've aged with grace. But you guys made up. We've had Saban on the show since. He regrets how it went about, and I know you certainly regret your reaction to it.
I was calling him a vacuum cleaner salesman.
In the time that Nick Saban left and went and had an entire second career as a college football coach, winning 6 national championships, the Dolphins won 0 playoff games. And if you combine the amount of championships that Bill Belichick and Nick Saban won, 13, that's more wins than the Dolphins have had in a season since 1984.
It's fascinating that you say that because Nick Saban was only derailed in the pros, I believe, because the doctors told him to take Dante Culpepper instead of Drew Brees. If you've taken Drew Brees, he might still be with the Dolphins, coaching the Dolphins and winning and being Belichick, because I would imagine that Saban could have turned Drew Brees into what Sean Payton turned him into.
I'm curious if Mike and Lucy and other college football fans agree with me on this, but I've hated Nick Saban for most of my life because he's been so good, and Alabama's kicked my team's ass so many times, especially in the national championship game. I mean, absolutely hated the guy. Used to tell people that he was the devil. And the last few years, like, I've really done a 180, and I really admire how dominant and how good of a coach he's been. And now I'm a little.
What made you turn?
Well, I enjoyed our talk before because we were talking and we realized Nick Saban didn't change.
I've changed.
We changed.
I've changed.
Yeah, like we're shittier.
I respect it.
Yeah, we looked to some of the leadership qualities that Nick Saban had when we were younger. It didn't land quite well with us, but he's unquestionably one of the great leaders in the history of sport, and the success is undeniable. Do we have an image? I know I'm putting studio team in a rough spot, but look what Auburn was doing yesterday. And Holly Anderson, I think, pointed out correctly, this is the biggest little brother energy I've ever seen. But Auburn, who famously, after big signature wins, throws toilet paper into the trees that were poisoned, by the way, by an Alabama fan, they took to the streets and started TPing trees out there in celebration because the reign of terror that was Nick Saban's time at their arch rival Alabama is gone. And every fan base, all of your group chats were lit up. From Texas A&M to Notre Dame to even Miami to schools that you never even thought they had a chance. Now all of a sudden the door creaks open a little bit wider. Auburn, they're super excited. Miami, super excited. FSU, super. Everyone's excited now because this guy who ran this sport in ways we've never seen before is gone, and there is almost no way whoever they get can replicate that kind of success in the college football day and age we're in right now.
Juju, please put it on the poll. Can toilet paper ever be the ultimate sign of respect?
I think one of the funnier things is, like, looking at Auburn specifically, they made that Hugh Freeze hire and tanked their own, like, public image simply because he could beat Nick Saban. That is literally the only reason they hired him. That just shows, like, how important this guy is to college football, to the SEC. Like, obviously, like Jess said it, there's no debate. He's the greatest of all time.
I need to hear from Stugotz. Do teams still have to do it against Alabama?
We'll see who ends up being the coach, and that's a discussion.
Who would want that? Who would want to fall? Both. We can talk about the Patriots too. If I'm a coach looking for a job, I know someone obviously is going to take it, but that is just obviously a tough act to follow.
It's harder to follow Nick Saban's. We're going to do sports. Which job is tougher to follow?
Alabama.
Alabama was just in the college football playoff, and that is an impossible sport these days to manage. That is a very difficult job, and no one from the pros really sees the appeal in doing that right now. I do appreciate that Nick Saban's final act in college football was to write a letter of recommendation to the NCAA that they give Talia Tagovailoa an extra year of eligibility because he didn't have to pay the check.
Stop it! I knew there was going to be a Miami angle to this. Is Cristobal going to get an interview, Mike?
No, I heard things Look, if this was 2 years ago, Mario Cristobal would honestly be as well positioned as almost anyone.
What happened since?
He lost to Middle Tennessee State, and he refused to take a knee, and it's been. Okay, cool. Very cool.
We're not thinking about you,
No,
Jeremy.
not at all. Mario Cristobal did have
Kansas
a big hand
yesterday.
in
Blue blood.
Cool. I'm done talking to you. Forever, possibly.
I like that's like, who would want to follow Nick Saban? I don't know, a psychopath? And famously, college football coaches are all psychopaths.
Sark's on the phone right now.
Right now.